Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel, and I'm recording this on Tuesday. Yes, that being said, I will publish this on Friday along with the other two videos. Well, one, but there's another video that I'm actually gonna make, so make that actually two. So what I heard was, when I saw on YouTube, like when the first day I actually got on there's, that Jack Roush is actually offering Brad Keselowski ownership of the team. In my opinion, Brad Keselowski, Kaz, he's basically has just earned his, stripes in the Cup Series. 2012 champion, he's driven for Penske nearly his entire career. Well, I mean, except, when he actually had his days at Hendrick Motorsports, but in my opinion, I really think, if Cass is actually getting offered ownership to for Jack Roush's team, for Roush Fenway Racing, in my opinion, I really feel like he really just shouldn't go. I mean, don't get me wrong, Roush is actually, they're doing pretty damn good this year. They've, you have Chris Buescher. Well, obviously he's in the playoffs based on in points. And you have Ryan Newman also trying to, work his way back up there in the playoffs, like how he did back in 2019. In my opinion, Roush, they really just have made a big gain this year, consistency-wise. And, 2020 really wasn't a good season for them, basically due to Ryan Newman's horrifying wreck at Daytona. And, Chris Buescher, he actually did do pretty good, but if you want to compare 2019 to 2020, 2019 was a way better year for Chris Buescher. And in my opinion, I really feel like Roush Fenway Racing, they've actually done pretty good this year. But the thing is, I just don't see Roush going back on how they were back in the early 2000s, like how they were competing with Hendrick. I just don't, with Hendrick or Joe Gibbs Racing, or, like Penske. I just don't see that happening again because, back then, Roush was just like a super team. You had the old savvy veteran, Mark Martin. He will always still contend for wins, but he's still trying to look for that first championship. You had Greg Biffle, the 33-year-old, who came close to winning a championship in 2005. Then, you obviously have, Matt Kenseth, who basically has been with the organization since 1999 and, won Rookie of the Year in 2000 and won a 2003 championship. Then, of course, you got Kurt Busch, who won the 2004 championship. And, of course, you have, the rookie himself, the young guy himself, Carl Edwards, still trying to make a name for himself in the Cup Series on winning, races, and he made the chase in 2005. And that's really how Roush was. They were basically a 5-car super team. And yes, the 5-car rule actually got abolished, I think, back in, 2010, where you couldn't run 5 cars anymore because, Jamie McMurray really wasn't doing so good for Roush in the 26 car. In my opinion, basically, if Kez does actually go to Roush, I think he will drive for them. Because, when you look at it, most drivers that have retired in the Cup Series are, mostly they retire at the age of 40. Brad Keselowski, he's about to turn 37, I think. And I don't think his years of racing aren't quite over yet. I mean, if he does go to Roush, I think the number that they'll probably choose for him is either the 97 or the 26. It depends on what number it is. But the thing is, I just don't see, Kez basically going over to Roush. Because, Penske is a better organization than Roush, I mean, back then, back in the day, like in the 2000s, they're basically on the same level. But when you look at it today, Roush, they just basically, I feel like Jack Roush, he basically just screwed up his entire, lineup for the future. Back in 2013, I mean, don't get me wrong, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he did win back-to-back Nationwide Series championships in 2011 and 2012. But at the same time, he just really wasn't doing good on the Cup Series scene. And I also think he actually got rushed Trevor Bayne, another driver who for Roush who really didn't do all that good. And the thing is, Roush actually has a really good track record of failing most of their prospects. The only two prospects that they did not fail was enough course. Well, actually, I'll say three. The only three that did not fail was, of course, Ryan Reed, which Ryan Reed was never able to. He had sponsorship from Lilly Diabetes. I'm sorry if I'm stuttering today, but it's just a habit. But yeah, Ryan Reed, he just wasn't able to ever get that big opportunity to go to the Cup Series. I mean, he did make a one-off in Talladega in 2016, but he was just never able to, even get a promotion to Cup, even staying, nearly 5 years in the Xfinity Series from 2013 to 2018. Then, of course, you have Chris Buescher, who won the 2015 championship for Roush in the 60 car, which this was before the 60 became cursed. Like I said, Chris Buescher, he's basically a consistent driver, and I think like I said, he's actually one of my favorite drivers now. And I really think Chris Buescher, he actually has put himself in a position where he's actually has been, maybe contending for top five. He actually has been contending for top 10s and top 5s week after week now. And I mean, yeah, he's currently 14th in points with a playoff spot, but at the same time, I really feel like for Chris, he's a consistent driver, and I really think that's who Jack Roush should be focusing on long term. Because if Ryan Newman doesn't leave the organization, or if he does leave next year, Kaz may be able to fill that void. But at the same time, I really feel like Chris Buescher is the driver that Jack Roush really wants to focus on in the future. Even though Chris Buescher is about to turn 29, I really feel like that he's basically the driver that they want to focus on the rest, of their existence on before Chris ever retires. But that's the driver I feel like they want to keep. And not to mention, this is also a contract season for Chris Buescher. So I feel like, Buescher's actually put himself in a position where he's actually be able probably to get re-signed. And I really think that Jack Roush should keep Chris Buescher in the ride. Now, of course, their final driver that they did actually have driving the 17 car from 2013 to 2019, that being none other than Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And Stenhouse, we all hate him. So, I mean, some of them, most of us hate him because of his stupid antics on the racetrack and because Daytona 2018. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he just, I don't know. Yeah, he did win 2 Xfinity Series championships, but he's like a late bloomer in my opinion. I don't think he's ever going to, probably gonna have that breakout season. 2017, he only won at plate tracks. Anybody can win at a plate track. I mean, his super speedway abilities are actually pretty good. Him basically maintaining with the lead pack is actually outstanding. But at the same time, any driver can do that. Any talented driver in the Cup Series can do that. Xfinity, trucks, doesn't matter. We've all seen it. But the thing is with Stenhouse, just that people really just didn't like him. And not to mention, since 2019 was such a horrible year for Stenhouse, I mean, I kind of see why he got released from the ride at season's end. I mean, Chris Buescher, obviously, he actually outperformed at JTG. He was outperforming his equipment, and he nearly had a playoff spot locked. For Stenhouse, it was just a whole nother story. I mean, he was actually, I think, 19th in points, while Buescher was running 18th in points. So, yeah, Buescher actually would have had, if Buescher had maybe a couple more top 5s and top 10s, probably he would have made it to the playoffs. But, yeah, other than that, really, Buescher was obviously the better driver than Stenhouse, and that's why I actually like what Jack Roush did. But anyways, going back to what I was saying, if Jack Roush is actually looking for Brad Keselowski to actually drive for him, I just don't see right. And, I actually had the conversation in the NASCAR anime community on Twitter. We probably made predictions and stuff for 2022, like way early predictions, saying like who will retire, who will this. I always said, Kurt Busch maybe just retire, Kurt Busch may just retire at season's end. Really, because how the way he's running this season. And Noah Gragson may actually replace him. But looking at it now, if Junior Motorsports does go to Cup next year, I see Gregson going to that car. But what I really feel like, if Ryan Newman does retire, but who will replace him? People say it'll probably be Almirola replacing him, with the Smithfield sponsorship. Maybe Matt DiBenedetto. But if Keselowski was actually able to drive for them, yeah. In my opinion, if Kes actually does go to Roush, I feel like it would be a downgrade. No disrespect to Roush Fenway Racing. They're a really good team, in my opinion. But now they've actually stepped up their game this season. It's just, the past few seasons, I just don't see them living up to the legacy that they had in the 2000s. Winning back-to-back championships and with two different point systems in 2003 and 2004, I just don't see it. But anyways, that's the end of the video. I'm going to publish this on Friday, and I hope you have a good day whenever the heck you're watching this.